It's so scary. 300 million years ago, the Earth was occupied by giant insects, omnivorous dragonflies as big as crows, and ancient giant roads as big as cars. The ruins of a plot that even a dog would be afraid of, filled with this time, a level of terror that seeks people away. Even when the Hulk goes through the charcoal device that spawned from about 800 million years ago to 380 billion 3 years ago. At that time, the Earth's climate was warm and humid, with vast swamps and lush forests occupying the entire continent. At the same time, it also bred the largest invertebrates on Earth. So today, you have a look at the Meganeura planet. At that time, the birds flying in the sky were not of today's kind, but a type of wheat-gathering dragonfly, whose appearance is similar to today's dragonflies close to 1 meter. What's even scarier is that they live by preying on other insects and small amphibians, which are our ancestors. If you go there, they will launch an attack on you from the air. But your feet are even more dangerous. At that time, the overlord on land was the ancient centipede insect, which is today's relative of the sympathetic hoods or kinship to the road. This giant creature can grow up to 2.5 meters long, half a meter wide, and weigh up to 50 kilograms. To be honest, with such an Earth, even aliens wouldn't dare to disembark. It's not that these creatures are so harmful to look at people, right? Also, there are 70 centimeters of giant flying shoes wandering in this long extinct giant aquatic scorpion, etc. It's no different from the alien events in movies. But the question is, why is it that today, with such a small ridged break, it can grow so big? If you go to that world, you'll find the answer right away. It's because the oxygen content of the atmosphere with magnetic exchange agents is close to 35%. Today, there's only 21% balance. Oxygen is out of control. The entire continent of the Earth is filled with ferns, moss, and some early vascular plants, which consume a large amount of carbon dioxide to release oxygen. But you might ask, there are also many plants today. Why is it the oxygen evidence of the plants that die today will be decomposed by a large number of bacteria and other substances, consuming a large amount of oxygen in the process while also releasing carbon dioxide? Carbon cannot be preserved, but under charcoal, solid wood bacteria do not exist. Therefore, these plants absorb a large amount of oxidized carbon and expel a large amount of oxygen, but since the plants have not been decomposed, has not been released back into the atmosphere, resulting in the global atmospheric oxygen content reaching its highest historical level. Now you should be able to figure out why the stone gas is called the Carboniferous Period, because the forests of the stone tool were eventually buried underground, forming a large coal layer, which has become our main fossil energy source today. This is enough to show the richness of plants at that time, right? So it's the breathing style of arthropods, which is different from ours. We breathe actively, and they rely on their body's pores to diffuse oxygen. This passive breathing method restricts their body size, but it's easier to obtain oxygen during the carbon season. This allows their bodies to continuously expand. However, experts believe that controlling animals to grow larger in a wealthy environment is a forced action, because a large amount of oxygen may be beneficial for this adult arthropod, but it poses a serious threat to their larvae, because young invertebrates can't control their oxygen intake, so too much oxygen could also be fatal. Therefore, researchers at Michigan State University believe that in ancient conservation caves, in rich breeding environments, larger larvae have a higher survival rate. Larger larvae will lead to larger adults, so where did the vertebrates on Earth go during this period? At this point, vertebrates are the dominant force in the ocean, but they haven't occupied land yet. However, amphibians have already appeared at this time. About 2.5 billion years ago, during the IIG period, significant changes occurred again, leading to the extinction of giant arachnids. This also marked the rise of reptiles on Earth. At that time, the continents gradually gathered together, forming the Pacific continent greatly changed the ocean currents and wind patterns at that time, as well as the global climate. The environment around the equator became drier, and tropical rainforests began to collapse. About 3 billion years ago, creatures like the long-legged millipede had already gone extinct. By 1999, early reptiles began to dominate. This made it more difficult for amphibians to survive, leading them to face severe ecological competition. Therefore, under the dual impact of environmental change and the rise of reptile giant insects on Earth came to an end, while the era of reptile dominance began. We are about to welcome the birth of the next dominant species on Earth, dinosaurs. That's all for today's little fact. Keep your curiosity alive, keep learning, and continuously growing.